You know, that's so great to see. And one of the common denominators that we found early when I was president of the MBA was the corporate climate and the business communities. You know, the Fortune 500 companies like Lockheed Martin and Wells Fargo, where I transitioned on the job, we found a common denominator with those major corporations who supported inclusion and diversity. And through that, we were able to better relate to elected officials and move, if you will, the transgender agenda forward. But it's a very powerful message when you have Fortune 500 companies that walk the walk and talk the talk and support Jennifer in what she's doing that affects so many people. You know, the ripple effect that can come from the Lockheed Martin Pride Group to the NBA to the T Network and on, that's what it's all about. And Shavera talked about, you know, if not now, when, and if not us, who? That's who. So, great stuff. And we're off to a great start. All right, our next speaker, I'm excited to introduce you to the Executive Director of our center in Orlando, Mr. Terry DeCARLO. Terry.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. As Gina said, I'm Terry DeCARLO. I'm the new Executive Director over the center. I've only been there about 4 months. And we're over on Mills Avenue. We host several transgender groups over there. If you've been over and you've taken a look, we're about to do a brand new building. They're tearing the old building out and putting a new building in, so we're going to have actually even more space that we can hold larger and bigger groups and get more into the fight like we want to. You know, we're a staunch supporter. I've written something down here because, and I didn't want to go too much into the center. You know what the center is. You know what we do. But my personal in the transgender movement goes back many, many years. And does anybody here know the name Marsha P. Johnson? No. No. I see one. Yeah, I see one in the back. Marsha Johnson, Marsha P. Johnson, you have to put the P in there, otherwise it's just going to look down and hit me, was a trans woman who became an important face of the LGBT community. She feared no judgment or harassment and ridicule and dressing as living as a woman. The hardships of transgender individual were nothing new to Marsha, who was also a long-time homeless. Born Malcolm Michaels, Marsha legally changed her name to Marsha P. Johnson in 1966 when she moved from New Jersey to Greenwich Village. When people would ask her what the middle initial P stood for, she replied, "Pay it no mind." She always said this was intended to be an answer to a question so many had on their minds as to whether she was male or female, which was a question she really hated. Marsha lived in New York City's Greenwich Village and was devoted to the transgender community. Acceptance was not always easy to come by back then, even living into one of the largest cities in the United States, but Marsha pushed through it. On the morning of June 28, 1969, police in Greenwich Village raided a known gay bar, the Stonewall Inn, where Marsha P. Johnson was that night. Several day riot broke out. It had been claimed that Marsha was the person who started the riots by finally having enough and throwing her high heel at a policeman, and it missed and went through the window of the bar. She was then also observed later on taking a cinder block and dropping it on a police car. You just didn't mess with Marsha. Along with her fellow transgender activist and friend Sylvia Rivera, Marsha stepped up to start the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries. They were able to organize homeless and runaway transgender individuals to help build a community where they live together. Another activist group Marsha became part of after the Stonewall riots was the Gay Liberation Front. Along with Starr and GLF, Marsha posed for a collection of Andy Warhol paintings and photographs called Ladies and Gentlemen. It was the title of Warhol's works that Marsha posed for in 1975. She wanted to do that because she thought she'd be seen by millions, what she wanted most, to display her beauty and her femininity. On Saturday night, July 5th, 1992, I, little homosexual, was walking down Christopher Street, and I had known Marcia for quite a while, and just walking down Christopher Street, and this voice bellowed down the street, "Darling, where have you been all my life? I've missed you." That night, Marcia and I sat down and talked for hours before finally giving kisses to each other and saying goodnight, and as the night ended, me watching her sashay down Christopher Street. I love that woman. The next morning, July 6, 1992, her body was found floating in the Hudson River. Police investigators ruled her death as a suicide, but we knew Marcia would never commit suicide. There was no criminal investigation into the death of Marcia P. Johnson. To quote punk and new wave innovator Richard Hell, "If you just amass the courage that is necessary, you can completely reinvent yourself. You can be your own hero, and once everybody is their own hero, then everybody is going to be able to communicate with each other on a real basis rather than a hand-me-down set of societal standards." People like Marcia P. Johnson made it possible for all of us to live our lives authentically, to express ourselves truthfully rather than a lie based on archaic and restrictive social norms. Today, Marcia's legacy lives on within the GLBT community and beyond, and as you can see, the fight for transgender rights has been going on way too long. In the words of my favorite Marcia P. Johnson, screw these people. I am who I am, and their words or actions cannot hurt me. I just pay it no mind. Now let's get over this crap in their simple minds and get on with the real work that needs getting done. That's my Marcia P. Johnson. That's my story. That's how I got involved in the transgender movement, meeting this incredible, incredible person. The center is dedicated to the transgender community, the fight. Whatever we can do, we will be at the forefront. You call on us, we will be there. And I thank you.
Any questions for Terry? We will have a break, so if you want to, catch up with these great folks one-on-one, you can certainly do that as well.
And I had to write that down so I could get it out.
Well, it was beautiful. Thank you.